Hey guys, it's Brandon again with another episode of Coast to Coast. Today, we're going to be cruising down to Alabama, where we're going to be exploring one of its most iconic dishes, fried green tomatoes. We're going to start by slicing unripe green tomatoes into about a 1/4 inch thick slices, set on a wire rack and season well with salt. Set that aside for about 15 minutes, that'll draw out some of the moisture, and then grab a bowl so we can start working on our spicy remoulade. In a small bowl, mix together a cup of mayo, a tablespoon of your favorite hot sauce, mince up 2 cloves of garlic, a couple good dashes of the Worcestershire Sauce, and then properly measured chef's teaspoon, smoked paprika, and a little bit of Cayenne Pepper to give it some heat. This is why it's always a good idea to taste your food, because after stirring this and tasting it, I realized I forgot the black pepper. Give that one last little stir, and we'll use that for later. Wipe off some of the extra moisture that came out of the tomatoes. This will also take off the initial salt you put on too. So we'll re-season with a little bit of kosher salt, a little sugar to sweeten things up, and some fresh cracked pepper. I can't stress the importance of using unripe tomatoes. You can imagine what'll happen when the hot oil hits the water content of a ripe tomato. Now set up your 3-step breading station. First put in some flour, some buttermilk, and then some cornmeal. If I had actually bothered to turn on the camera, you would have seen me roll the tomatoes in the flour, then dip them into the buttermilk, and roll them in the cornmeal to finish. Place a pan on medium-high heat and add a 1/4 cup of oil. You can tell your oil is hot enough by throwing a pinch of cornmeal in there and seeing it bubble up a bit. Then add a tablespoon of butter. This will help your coating brown up nicely and give you a nice little nutty flavor to it. Make sure that butter is nice and fully melted. Then add your tomatoes, frying on each side for about 2 to 3 minutes or until golden brown. Alright, let's plate these bad boys up. Let's put some spicy remoulade on the corner here. Sprinkle any kind of greens you want. I'm using some baby arugula. And then spread them out like you know what you're doing. Now it's time to dig in. I've never had fried green tomatoes before, and I gotta say these are quite delicious. However, I think I can take these to a whole nother level. Let's add some Alabama craft beer and see if we can't make an epic burger. Start by trimming the fat off a nice cold ribeye. Cut into 1-inch cubes and feed through the meat grinder using the coarse blade. You could use store-bought ground beef, but this is way more fun and tastes a lot better. Roll into patties and set aside while we prep our fried green tomatoes. I'll breeze through this part since we just did this. Slice up your green tomatoes and roll them in the flour, buttermilk, and cornmeal and set aside for later. Now let's make our Alabama white barbecue sauce. In a small bowl, combine a cup of mayo with a 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar, a tablespoon of sambal hot chili paste, and a 1/4 teaspoon each red chili flakes and cayenne pepper. Season with salt and pepper to taste. Mix together thoroughly and pour into a squeeze bottle for later. Add a couple strips of bacon to a pan, and let's make some candied bacon. In the last couple minutes, sprinkle some brown sugar and some maple syrup on both sides. Add the ground ribeye to a hot pan and pour in 1 pint of American wheat ale. I'm using the Bearded Lady from Good People Brewing in Birmingham, Alabama. Bring the beer to a gentle simmer and braise the patties for about 10 to 15 minutes. Now let's cook the fried green tomatoes just like we did before, adding a little butter and oil to the pan. Fry on each side for a couple minutes. Now let's caramelize those burger patties. Put a hot cast iron pan on the stove and sear the patties on both sides. That's the sound you want to hear. And who doesn't love a burger with some toasty buns? I'm going with brioche on this one. Now, assembly time. Add a couple slices of aged cheddar cheese, top with the burger patty, and these beautiful slices of candied bacon. Oh man, look at that. Then add our fried green tomatoes and a generous portion of this Alabama white barbecue sauce. It's really hard to cook in this house without people snooping around wondering what I'm doing. So there you go, babe, your own burger. I always cook with the same beer that I pair my dish with. And like I mentioned before, this is an American wheat ale by Good Brewing Company in Birmingham, Alabama. This slightly sweet wheat beer with its higher carbonation won't overpower all the crazy flavors going on in this thing. On top of that, the higher carbonation levels will cut through some of the fat that's in this thing. This is one pretty awesome burger, and a really fun vehicle for the fried green tomato. Pretty sure the next thing I'm going to do is make a gallon of this Alabama white sauce.